Welcome to the Solid Verbal. The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal Boys and Girls. My name is Ty Hildenbrand. Joining me, as always, from an undisclosed location, his name is Dan Rubenstein. Sir, how are you?
I can disclose that I'm outside of Chicago. I am in the suburbs. I'm all right. A lot has happened since we last recorded.
So, okay, all right, pause.
Yeah.
We are a show about honesty.
We are.
When we recorded last time, you were in L.A. At your old house where you grew up. Now you're making your way back across the country, eastward bound here. You are in Chicago, as I understand it, in the childhood bedroom of your brother-in-law. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. Shout out to Blake. I am in the childhood bedroom. I'm next to a CRT. Is that what it is? The CRT TV, the cathode ray tube.
Yeah, the tube monitor, sure.
And it's not a monitor. It's the full-on like RCA TV. There's a VHS player built into it.
It was convenient.
Yes. No, it is like a definite 14-year-old boy's bedroom right now. Life is good. It's very cold. I just had a bout of food poisoning. I missed the West Coast, or I missed Southern California. It was very nice, but I actually really like, it's cool to be inside in a warm place when it's so cold outside. There is something that's kind of cozy about that I can appreciate. But I watched the news last night and seeing that radar, that Doppler tie, even living in New York, that was that new.
Back up here for a second.
Yeah.
Food poisoning.
Oh, yeah, food poisoning. I mean, we should also mention, hi, it is a college football show.
Yeah, hi, welcome.
We have a lot of bowl games to recap and to preview, including the biggest of them all, or I guess up to the biggest of them all. And there will be plenty of college football momentarily, but I may have had food poisoning, and it may have come from a Mission-style burrito in the Mission in San Francisco. And man, food poisoning I haven't had it in a long, long time. No joke, Ty. Hot take right there.
Yeah, no, it's no joke. So hold on now.
Yeah.
Again, show about honesty. You had the bout with food poisoning. And then, as I understand it, you also fell down the stairs.
I did. I mean, as you can imagine, after bad food poisoning, you might need to do some laundry, Ty. And so I was bringing laundry down at the in-laws' place and wearing socks on a slick carpet and wearing slick socks and took a spill. Ty, I have not fallen downstairs intentionally. I mean, unintentionally, I guess, ever.
Right. Thankfully.
And hurt for a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I'm not the athlete I once was.
So what I think I'm hearing here is that Dan Rubenstein.
Yeah.
A little Bruce Feldman body blow theory going on for you doing this podcast.
Yeah. It's life. Life is dealing me a physical hand here. But you know what, Ty? I'm here. I'm a trooper. My streak continues.
Well, it's good to talk with you. I hope everyone out there had a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever holiday suits you best. Thank you for joining us again.
For the rest of us.
Yeah, we've got one show here in 2017 that we must record because, as Dan mentioned, a bunch of big bowl games to not only recap, but certainly preview as we get into the playoff and the New Year's Six. We're going to get into all of that momentarily.
Just checking in. Life is all right with you, right? I don't want to be rude.
Life is a lot better with me than it is with you.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to train again for our big ping pong matchup coming up on January 6th at the live show. But
I didn't train either in LA, just so you know. A little over Thanksgiving, but not when I was just there.
But otherwise, yeah, I'm doing fine. On that note, live show tickets are going to go back on sale January the 2nd at 1 p.m. We'll post it on Twitter. We'll post it on Facebook.
And that's pretty limited, too. So if you're going to be in Atlanta after you know that your team is going to be there, I'd grab them quickly.
Grab them quickly. People have emailed that they're going to be coming down either as part of the national championship, like envoy, or just otherwise going to be in and around the area. So there's some folks still figuring it out. As you mentioned, I would make sure that you grab those quick. January 2nd at 1 p.m. We'll post it everywhere. We'll send out another email, all that business. Just be on the lookout. The other thing that we teased we were cooking up in the lab, and now it's sort of official. But more details on this will be forthcoming, we promise you. But as everyone knows, there is a college football media day, much like the Super Bowl media day where the teams gather. There are podiums. You go around, you ask questions. This year, we will be at media day as we have, gosh, I don't even know how many years in a row now.
Yeah.
We will be broadcasting live throughout media day from the college football playoff Facebook sports set.
Yes.
So a little bit of a live broadcast that you can tune into, be part of, ask questions through, courtesy of our friends over at Facebook.
Yeah, we'll have fun with some players, maybe a coach or two will be over there. So it'll be lighthearted, informative, and you get to see Ty in what I can only assume to be pristine high definition. So
1080p.
What more do you want? Yeah, baby.
Stay tuned for more information on that front. Now, on to more pressing subjects, Daniel.
Yes.
I know you're on the mend here from various maladies. Are you ready to go into some bowl recaps and previews and the like?
Yeah, we got to deep dive this bad boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl, don't we?
That's right. So we have breaking news. Not sure why I played that sound. It's not breaking news in the conventional sense here.
Yeah.
On the Solid Verbal, but we've got a handful of bowl games that we want to recap. Actually, I guess it's more than just a small handful, maybe a dozen or so. Let's start with the DXL Frisco Bowl. This one was between Louisiana Tech and SMU. We cautioned folks in advance that just kind of a weird situation with Chad Morris leaving, Sonny Dykes coming in. Maybe not the best scenario in which to select SMU, even though for a while they were favored here.
Right.
Lo and behold, Louisiana Tech 51, SMU 10. In case you were wondering what the effect might be of a weird coaching circumstance, SMU promptly committed 6 turnovers, 2 of which went for pick sixes, en route to losing by 41 points in the bowl game, Dan.
Yeah, and my favorite receiver running back duo of names in bowl season, I think. I would have to review it some more, but La Techs, or I don't know. Do you think La Tech hates being called La Tech?
Yes.
Like Virginia Tech people hate Va Tech?
Absolutely.
Okay. So Louisiana Tech, their duo of running back receiver names, Boston Scott and Teddy Veal, which sounds like they're just in a frat at maybe. Let's see, what frat could they be in? Boston Scott and Teddy Veal, maybe at North Carolina. I don't know.
NC State.
Yeah. They both had terrific games for Louisiana Tech, and as you mentioned, SMU. That was a struggle. Even Cortland Sutton, even with his couple of nice catches, could not really get anything going. And to nobody's surprise, and I appreciate you giving me the out to once it was announced that Sonny Dykes would be the interim head coach before he was going to be the head coach, I guess.
Still weird.
In this game.
Like everybody who follows college football with really any amount of seriousness had to look at that situation and say, maybe not the best idea to bring Sonny Dykes in.
Yeah, I was never going to alter plans to watch this game, but I started watching this game right before going out to dinner with my parents in LA and saw how it started. I was like, yeah, I think we're good here.
Yeah.
I think I know how this one ends.
All right, let's move on to the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl.
Gasparilla.
Temple wins 28-3 over FIU. And I got to say, the most interesting aspect of this game for me was not the fact that Temple actually caught me by surprise in winning this game by 25 points. I thought this was going to be pretty damn close. It wasn't. Did you hear what Jeff Collins said during the post-game celebration?
I did not. Please inform, educate.
Jeff Collins, first-time head football coach, coach for Temple, took over after Matt Rule left for Baylor. During the post-game celebration, he said, quote, "The ceiling for Temple is the roof." Now, Michael Jordan had a similar quote about North Carolina a couple years ago. And in that case, people tried to really dissect what it meant. And what they came to, the conclusion that they came to, was that because North Carolina football does not play in a dome of any sort, the open-air stadium meant that essentially there was no ceiling.
Right.
in this case, they played the game at Tropicana Field, Dan. That's a dome.
Yeah.
And so I'm still searching a bit for what Jeff Collins might have been referring to.
And isn't it sort of a dilapidated, I don't know if the ceiling has ever leaked or tiles have fallen like they did at the Kingdom, but not a great roof to associate your team with.
Just like a lot of cheap drywall in that stadium.
Yes.
Is the impression I get. I've never been, but anytime you build a baseball field in which players can hit the lights with a pop fly, generally there's like a logistical issue there that needed to be further examined.
The better news is that Temple was awesome against FIU's passing offense, and they stopped the run really well. It was really nice defensive performance to go out on for the Owls going into next year.
Moving on, let's talk about the Bahamas Bowl.
Let's.
The Ohio Bobcats win this one 41-6 over the UAB Blazers. Again, UAB, a good story. A couple of years ago, the program was dead. Dead as a doornail. They came back. They were in a bowl. We both liked Ohio here, though, a fair amount because they've been really good this season.
Yeah, Nathan Rourke, huge game. Dorian Brown, very nice game to go out on the ground. Had a huge day there. Poppy White, a name I'm just learning for probably the second time for Ohio. He had a nice day catching balls for the Bobcats, but a quietly very good year for Ohio. And even with the great story that is UAB, and I think Bill Clark should have gotten a little more attention at the end of the season with what he was able to do with the Blazers. Nice win for Ohio.
Okay. Famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Wyoming 37, Central Michigan 14. I had the question before this game, is Josh Allen going to play? Josh Allen, the all-world everything quarterback for Wyoming. He did play. He was back from injury. He looked pretty good. I thought he looked healthy. Wyoming won the game by a pretty healthy margin, and then he declared for the NFL draft. So he is taking his talents to the NFL. And in the meantime, though, nice win for the Cowboys here. I was on the Central Michigan train.
Right.
Didn't work out quite as well for our boy Sugar Shane Morris with 4 interceptions, I think.
Yep.
But, 23-point W for the Cowboys of Wyoming.
And once again, Wyoming rightfully came into the season with the story being Josh Allen, and even with his mostly down year for both reasons that he could and couldn't control. Wyoming's defense was a pretty great story. They forced a ton of turnovers. Carl Granderson, not just the Heisman finalist, but also just a very, very good player. I think a converted receiver at defensive end, led this Cowboy defense, which was pretty stout all year long after the non-conference part of their schedule. So Wyoming, another really dominant defensive performance in their bowl game. And, Craig Bohl, slowly but surely, a lot of people don't realize how down and sort of unexciting this Wyoming program was when he got there. Dave Christensen didn't leave it in a good spot. And, winning 8 games, turning this defense into something pretty special. Great job.
His head the shape of the Oregon O. Just
yes,
like
sir.
that. All right. The Birmingham Bowl was a fun game. South Florida wins 38-34. Quentin Flowers, my boy.
Yes, sir.
He threw a touchdown pass with 16 seconds left that lifted the Bulls over Texas Tech. Flowers had 311 passing and 4 touchdowns, also a $106 on the ground and another touchdown. It'll be interesting to see how USF fares next year because Flowers is gone. They lose some other skill position guys, something like 8 starters on defense. It'll be interesting to see what Charlie Strong does down there. But sort of a blasé way to go out if you're Texas Tech and Cliff Kingsbury. Remember, a bit on the hot seat. They gave him a vote of confidence. Yes, he'll be back for another season. You lose a game like this, though it was closely contested, kind of a dud way to go out.
Yeah, and they lost to a good team. They didn't lose to an average MAC team or something like that. They lose to a now 10-2 USF team who had a nice season, didn't beat anybody of consequence really, I guess maybe until Texas Tech. But really good first season for Charlie Strong. And even with Texas Tech losing this game, they finished the year beating Texas. That is a note that will remain through the offseason.
The Armed Forces Bowl, Dan. Army 42, San Diego State 35.
Comeback.
If you're going to have a shootout, why not be in the Armed Forces Bowl, Dan?
Yeah, you're
Maybe
correct.
One of the better games we'll see all bowl season. I don't even know where to start with this one. The game itself, I would say, was aggressively on brand for both teams.
A combined 13 pass attempts.
You know what Army wants to do. They want to run you to death with their option. They want to hold the ball for as long as possible. Mission accomplished on that front, Daniel.
Yeah,
46 minutes of possession for the Black Knights. They ran 61 more plays than San Diego State. More than anything, I think that's what won it for them, because they couldn't stop Rashad Penny when he got the damn ball.
Right.
They were just able to really hold it, really play their game for the vast majority of this one. They score with 18 seconds left. They go for 2. They end up getting it. That gave them a 36-35 lead. They score a touchdown on the last play. San Diego State tried one of those multiple lateral plays that ended up being returned for a touchdown. So a good, close game, a lot of points, and really just a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, really nice season for Army, and Ahmad Bradshaw, a nice game against San Diego State, a good San Diego State defense. And you're right, this was just these two teams playing to their exact identities. San Diego State's entire offense all year was big Rashad Penny plays and questionable passing from Christian Chapman, and Army much the same, controlling the ball. And I would say, all things considered, even with allowing as much as they did to Rashad Penny, a pretty decent defensive performance from Army when it mattered against in big moments, I would say.
Fair enough. The Dollar General Bowl, App State 34. Toledo 0.
Guess who just got
Murdered. Daniel.
Yeah.
What is this?
So this is the game that instructed me to look for something in terms of a pattern in bowl games, because we came into this game thinking, well, Logan Woodside is the clear best thing about this game in terms of pure talent and excitement and explosion. He has a completely worthless game. Throws 3 picks, can't get anything going downfield. And App State, even as you know how I love my App State,
sure,
they're the team I can't break up with. But they're more like TCU and Ole Miss to you are like college sweethearts, longtime girlfriend that there's always
I'm
in the back.
still checking their Facebook pages, still friends with them. Yeah.
App State, for me, it's just like a crush that's just nagging and won't go away. And they struggled at points this season. They weren't the same Sun Belt team they've been in years past, but for them to shut out this Toledo offense, by the way, not a good bowl season for the MAC outside of Ohio.
No, not at all.
Just not.
No.
And App State comes down just defensively, shuts down everything the Rockets try to do. Taylor Lamb has a nice game. They're good on the ground with Jalen Moore. Just that the App State team we thought we'd see more of this year. And they finished with 9 wins. Another good year.
Dan, Logan Woodside was Florida quarterback bad in this game.
Yes, he was. And that's very mean, but not false.
His QBR, according to ESPN, was 9.6.
Yeah.
Which, if you're not fully in the loop on what QBR means, you're not alone, but that's not a good number.
Correct. It was huge second quarter. Yeah. For App State. And yeah, Logan Woodside, huge disappointment in this game. Not the way he wanted to go out for Toledo. But here's the other cool thing that I discovered thanks to this game.
Yeah. So hold on. Now pause. You said you started to look a little bit deeper into things after seeing the result of this one. What's that mean?
So basically, I looked at the result of this game, that it was so lopsided. And I said, is there something going on here with bowl games, with bowl season, in terms of patterns, in terms of picking games? Is there anything that can speak to the results we've seen? And I'm talking first game on up. So what was the first game? Troy, North Texas, right. Post-Celebration Bowl, whatever. And basically, if you look at, yes, Ty, the Danalytics.
Okay.
And yes, the probably much better, almost assuredly much better S&P Plus metric that Bill Connolly and Football Outsiders, Football Study Hall does. Basically, if we are in agreement that bowl games, especially early on when it's not necessarily lopsided, but the teams come from 2 very different conferences or geographies, whatever, situations, this team doesn't have a coach, this team, their quarterback's deciding to sit out of the running, there's all these sort of variables involved in especially these early games. That what if there's a thread that would help you pick if there's a metric? And it turns out if bowl games are about effort, do we agree? Sort of caring, getting up for it, motivation, effort, whatever. And you could say the same thing about defense, that generally speaking, teams that play good defense beyond talent, which is the most important thing I would argue, it's the idea of caring, play to play, effort, motivation, whatever. And it turns out the team with the better S&P Plus defense or points per drive defense, so part of the Danalytics, which, by the way, that is not a metric that I invented, is now, through all of the games that have happened through, I guess, Tuesday the 26th, we're recording this on the 27th, straight up are 14-3.
Okay.
That's not bad.
No?
That's not bad in terms of looking at straight up. And the games, I think San Diego State had a better defense than Army, and that was close. The UAB Ohio game, I think UAB had a better S&P plus defense. But all in all, the team that has the more consistent defense and the better performing defense, I think Northern Illinois has a much better defense, or a little bit better defense than Duke, and that didn't work out for them. 14-3. Not bad.
All right, I'm looking at my other picks here for the rest of the show, and I think I'm going to be okay by that metric.
I have the points per drive ranking ready to go.
Okay,
defense.
great.
Yeah, for the rest of our games we're picking.
A couple other ones very quickly, 3 more before we get to those picks. The Hawaii Bowl, they played this one, I believe, on Christmas Eve. Mm-hmm. Fresno wins over Houston by a 33-27 score. An incredible turnaround story for Fresno, led by Jeff Tedford. Keep in mind, Fresno went 1-11 a year ago. Now they go 10-4. They only lose 5 starters next season.
Yeah.
So curious to see which direction that program heads. On the Houston side, Ed Oliver, the all-world everything defensive tackle, did have a touchdown run for Houston.
Yes.
That's kind of fun. In fact, a touchdown.
Yes. I think you hit everything. A really cool bounce back season for Fresno State to get back to a pretty respectable and decent level. They finished, the numbers really like them this year. Marcus McMarry, the Oregon State transfer, had a nice year. Their secondary was really, really good. That the team was led by their defense, and Houston didn't have really bad losses this year. They were not that far away from being a 9-10 win team. But the story here was Fresno, their defense, and the job that Jeff Tedford and his staff have done right away. In the San Joaquin Valley.
That's right. Okay, the Zaxby's Heart of Dallas Bowl. Utah wins by a 30-14 score over West Virginia. I've been informed here in the earpiece that the boys in the truck have some music queued up, Daniel.
I'm ready.
Let's talk a little bit about what West Virginia's drive chart looked like, shall we?
I would like nothing more. West Virginia against Utah. Punt, 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 field goal, punt, 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 field goal, punt, fumble, punt, interception. Hey, touchdown, interception. Rough. Here's the holiday reference. Here's the snow time.
That since we last did it.
I have not practiced.
That was right on cue.
Right on cue. I can feel it, Ty. When you're at my level of hating, you can just feel the crescendo coming.
We've talked,
which was what she said.
We've talked off air about how one of the things that we both admire in the radio business is the FM radio DJ who can perfectly time his vocal lead in.
I do that sometimes, Ty, when I'm listening to music, like on Spotify or something.
Yeah, just like try it on your own.
I will 100%. I do that in the car. My wife hates it. My brothers hate it. My parents hate it. Because that's the Sirius XM voice. It's one and the same. Where it's just like Aerosmith, a 92.4 KBBI. Yeah. We
had a drive somewhere. It was during one of our national championship trips where, I'm not kidding, Dan and I did that for about 45 minutes straight.
It's my favorite.
Might have been Arizona.
Favorite. Yeah.
Anyway, where were we here?
Utah, West Virginia.
30-14. West Virginia looked a bit of a tire fire in this game. I don't think it was entirely unexpected. Thankfully, Will Greer didn't play, still healing up. Good for him. Get healed up for next season. I don't have much else to add beyond that.
On their punt drives, Ty. So there were, I'm counting here, 9 punts. How many of those drives do you think were 3 and out? 8 of 9. 8 of 9.
Yeah.
We're 3 and out. It was rough. No Will Greer. And by the way, shout out Kyle Whittingham. Now I think 11-1 in bowl games.
Yep.
The most successful bowl coach of all time, I guess, of coaches who have coached more than 6 or 7.
All right. The Quick Lane Bowl, Duke wins 36-14 over NIU. Where was this NIU defense that I was talking about? I didn't see any defense in this game.
No, not much. Sutton Smith was largely contained.
Actually, it was the Duke defense that came to play here. NIU was 1 of 12 on 3rd downs, 0 of 6 on 4th downs. I guess the bright spot is that they went for it 6 times on 4th down, which is always exciting, but it'd be better if you got 1 or 2 of them.
I watched a good chunk of this game, and Northern Illinois was in the I'm losing this game of Madden or NCAA, so whatever. I'm hitting Y when I should be hitting X on the play call screen.
Just bomb every play. Bomb.
Fake punts from your own end zone. I don't know if you saw that moment, but that was just magnificent, Ty. It wasn't even ballsy. It was just like, screw it. Screw everything. I'm going out. I'm taking everybody out with me. The punter threw a terrible pass. Northern Illinois did not acquit itself well. Daniel Jones was fine. He didn't throw downfield all that much, but he completed a bunch of passes, ran well.
I am so perplexed by Daniel Jones this year.
Yeah, took a step back. Definitely took a step back. And
step back.
He is basically, if Sam Darnold had like a little cousin who grew up idolizing him, I was like, I'm just going to do exactly what he does, but without exactly the same level of talent, where he's just I'm going to throw 3 dope passes and then throw something that you have no idea what I was thinking about. Like, I'm thinking about that Steamboat Willie, Homer Simpson thing while throwing a pass. That was the Daniel Jones experience in 2016.
And finally, the Cactus Bowl. Kansas State wins 35-17 over UCLA. Now, interesting factoid in this one.
Yeah.
Josh Rosen apparently advised by his doctors not to play in this game. You know, he suffered that concussion later in the year. I'm a skeptic. Maybe that was true. Maybe it was like convincing your doctor you have glaucoma. Like, I'm not sure.
Wow, Ty.
What the exact scenario was here. Either way, I do not blame him for not playing in the Cactus Bowl, whether he was hurt or not. I would expect that he will declare shortly for the NFL draft. Clearly, this wasn't the way that UCLA wanted to close out its season, but there are a lot of moving parts there with the new coach, Charles Chip Kelly, coming on board here.
Yes. I would say that it is much more likely that Josh Rosen did, in fact, have an injury, and it was not unfair to be overly precautious with a head injury, with a brain injury.
Sure.
Ahead of a game like this with, a future of playing in the NFL. I think it was sort of a good mix of good reasons not to play in this game, especially given the coaching change. I don't really think that had much to do with it. I will say this, though. Josh Rosen, I thought, spoke super well about not criticizing players not playing in bowl games before this game. I thought he made a lot of good points that it's easy to sort of from afar, and Ty, Lord knows we say a lot of things from afar. I do not excuse what we say at all. But, when you don't know the personal situations of players deciding to skip games, whether it's a health reason, whether it's a financial reason that they want to stay with the team, they want to play in bowl games, but, they have a financial situation where going to the NFL and not jeopardizing their draft stock makes just a little bit more sense instead of playing in the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl, something like that.
I'm completely fine with him not playing. I believe that's why only one member of the broadcasting duo had the audacity and really the foresight to say that if Josh Rosen came down with something before this game, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't blame him at all for not playing. I'm just a bit of a skeptic here because, hey, I called it, and it seemed like it was a little too convenient. I hope it works out well for him. The one thing that scares me a little bit with Rosen now as he moves on to the NFL, he's a really sharp cookie, really smart guy.
Yeah.
He strikes me, and I'm going to make a golf reference here, which please try not to squirm, but
he's from Manhattan Beach. It's fine.
Reminds me a little bit of like when Tiger Woods decided he wanted to try and tinker with his swing, or what's the guy, Bryson DeChambeau, who's trying to reinvent the golf swing.
Wow.
There's going to be a moment in Josh Rosen's career where he thinks he's figured out some entirely new way to go about something, and that may or may not work on the NFL level.
I think he'll be fine. I thought the worst, I tweeted something about his career in general, that it would have been nice to see him in a more stable place, because I think he had 3 different offensive coordinators and a defense that swung from really good in 2016 to just completely embarrassing in 2017. And that continued against Kansas State, where they allowed nearly 350 yards rushing in the Cactus Bowl. That it would have been cool to see Josh Rosen in a more stable place. And ultimately, I think the worst decision Josh Rosen made at UCLA was deciding to go to UCLA.
Probably. Yeah.
And to sort of, there are stories about how he sort of turned off Stanford's coaching staff, and they didn't really want to offer him or accept his commitment. And that I think his career would have it would not have ended with a lower draft pick or a higher draft pick because he's probably going to go in the top 3. But we would have been able to see Josh Rosen in a more stable place behind a more stable line with Christian McCaffrey and Bryce Love. It's a sort of what could have been if everything had worked out with that situation.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. And one final point on the Cactus Bowl. Still awaiting word on the future for Bill Snyder. We don't know what his deal is going to be moving forward as head football coach at K-State. Obviously very successful. Nice way to go out, winning by 18 against UCLA in a fun bowl game, but we will wait and see what the future holds there.
Really weird and ultimately fun, I guess, season for Kansas State. I mean, they held on to the ball a ton against the Bruins, and Alex Delton, Alex Barnes ran wild. I was watching this game with the in-laws and my father-in-law watching, shout out to Joel, obviously, watching, I think it was an Alex Barnes run in the second half where he just sort of went untouched for 38 yards. And my father-in-law went, wait, where's the safety? Somebody should touch him in the second level. No, that's not how UCLA's defense works. And we'll see what happens next year. I can only assume they've hired a very good linebackers coach to get nope.
All right. Moving on, Dan, we got bowls to preview.
Yes.
Time. Help. I need picks of the week.
Woo! Okay. This is going to be bowl preview, officially number 4 here on the Solid Verbal. We've timed this out. We've scheduled this out in a way that we haven't done in the past. We've done this now for 10 full college football seasons. Mm-hmm. And I can say definitively that in none of those previous years have we ever previewed bowl games in such a regimented and scheduled fashion. We actually thought this through.
We're full-on grown-ups, Ty.
Yeah. We have matured to the point where we're able to do this. So let's get into dangerous territory now with your bowl picks, okay? We are officially in this arena now where hopefully you've locked in, you've gotten the early games out of the way, you've put most of your confidence points on those earlier games, because the games that we're about to talk about are the ones that I am least confident in. It's not because I don't know the teams as well. Actually, I know these teams better. But it feels to me like most of these matchups, with a couple exceptions, are closer. They could go one way or the other. We've got a lot of really talented teams that we're going to talk about here, not the least of which is the 2 big playoff games, which we'll discuss last here on the program. Mm-hmm. Let's start with the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. They play this one in Arlington at AT&T Stadium. It's on December the 29th at 8:30 p.m. on ESPN. And it's a big one. It's one of the games I'm most excited to see. We've got the Ohio State Buckeyes. We've got the USC Trojans. Ohio State's a 7.5-point favorite here, Dan. What's our gift situation?
All right, Ty. So the Cotton Bowl Classic, the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic.
Cotton Bowl Classic.
Texas.
It's a classic.
Yes, the classic. Now, you think Texas, you think everything's bigger in Texas, bigger bowl suite, bigger gifts, bigger,
belts,
we draw attention.
Food.
To yes, of course. We want to show that we're the biggest and best. The Cotton Bowl is not disclosing.
Really?
Their gift situation, as per Sports Business Journal, not disclosed.
Wow.
Why? I hope there's a lot of Bluetooth. I hope there's a lot of sweat-wicking fabrics. I don't know.
Cotton doesn't wick away the sweat. It absorbs it. It makes you cold when you sweat.
And maybe they're embarrassed by that, Ty.
Ooh.
Maybe they're embarrassed. I'm sure it's something good. I'm sure USC and Ohio State, the scrappy little underdogs finally get a break and get something good gift-wise. But no, there's no disclosure of bowl gifts. So
the winner
shame
gets
on you.
Shea Patterson. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on to the actual game. I always worry about picking against a team that feels like it has something to prove in a bowl game. To your earlier point about motivation, what drives a bowl team. And I know USC might fall a little bit into that category, but Ohio State this year, dog, if they don't define it, I don't know who does.
Really?
Well, yeah,
I understand. They're disappointed they're not in the playoff. Sure.
They won the Big Ten. They were passed over for the college football playoff. They got a senior quarterback in JT Barrett, who has been perpetually disrespected as the starter for his team. Clearly, he's going to be motivated. This is like his last hurrah. He's not going to be playing quarterback in the NFL. Hate to break the news to folks out there, but most importantly, I think they've got an offense that's going to push on all the pressure points of this SC defense. SC's not played a team all year with an offense that can beat you 17 different ways like Ohio State can. They also haven't played a defense this good, which will be an interesting challenge for Sam Darnold. But I think the combination of motivation with scheme, which what I think is a big-time coaching mismatch in Urban Meyer versus Clay Helton, there's a lot that goes in Ohio State's favor here. The fans will travel well. There's a lot of Ohio State people down there to begin with. So I'm going to go Ohio State here. Again, not a ton of confidence points on any of these games, only 4 for me. But I like Ohio State here, and I'm pretty confident about it.
Yeah, it was a shame this year, just in looking back at USC specifically, that they didn't have an opportunity to play against Washington, because their wins were, Stanford twice, which is very good. It was not a great Stanford team, but that's good. They beat Utah, but outside of that, there wasn't much in the way of like a top 50, top 60 win for this USC team. Defensively, I think a little bit to be desired. I didn't love their secondary at times. They weren't great against the run, but offensively, you have Sam Darnold, who, in terms of outside of Baker Mayfield, the ceiling of playmaking was, extremely high up. There's no question that, when he had to roll out of the pocket and look downfield, he was able to make plays that a lot of quarterbacks are just flat out unable when he's not throwing picks. There's a ton of talent in the backfield with Stephen Carr and the Texas Tesla, Ronald Jones. But against a team like Ohio State, I don't see a lot I love. I think Ohio State's defensive line can overwhelm USC's offensive line. I don't love the fact that Ohio State, when they're just smart and give it to J.K. Dobbins, which is the smartest possible thing Ohio State can do, dominated everybody and looked like a playoff team, where USC at times, even in wins, a close win against Utah with their backup quarterback at home. I like USC a bunch, but I think the talent differential on Ohio State's defense against USC's offense, and I know USC has receivers that have improved, the younger guys, Tyler Vaughn, Stephen Mitchell, those guys improved over the course of the season. I don't know how they get loose against Ohio State's defense consistently. So Ohio State with the better points per drive defense, Ty, and it's by a considerable margin. I'm taking them to win the Cotton Bowl, and here's the big I'll say controversial thing, Ty. I think Ohio State breaks their scoreless streak in the postseason.
What?
I think they do. I think they break that streak. I don't think they go 2 years in a row of not scoring a single point in the postseason.
Wow.
I'm out on that limb. Check me off.
How many confidence points are you putting on this?
Not a lot. Low teens, 12, 13, somewhere around there.
Okay.
I like Sam Darnold. I like what he was able to, raise his game up to last year against Penn State. But that was in the Rose Bowl. I don't think this USC team is as good as it was last year on offense. So I'm going Ohio State here.
We agree. Let's go to the Tax Slayer Bowl.
Yes.
Who's up for slaying some taxes?
Oh, that's a loaded question, Ty.
Everbank Field in Jacksonville, Florida. They play this one on December the 30th at high noon. It's on ESPN. We've got Louisville, a 6.5-point favorite over Mississippi State. Several alerts that I need to mention to all y'all. But before we do, what are our gifts here? What's our gift situation, Dan?
The Tax Slayer Bowl has generously decided to gift people with, the Cold War still rages on. Well, there's a gift suite. No idea what's in the gift suite. Fossil Watch. So a shot across the bow, obviously, early on in our bowl preview against Timely. So a Fossil Watch in this one.
There are some other watch companies getting in on the fun here. There's a Belova
I did
watch
notice
coming
that.
up. Yeah.
Man, the Cold War, the Watch Cold War.
So we've got a new coaching alert.
Yes.
In that Dan Mullen left Mississippi State for Florida. Joe Moorhead, coming over from Penn State, will not be coaching the bowl game, not pulling a Sonny Dykes. We've also got injured star quarterback alert. In Nick Fitzgerald, you might remember he had that ugly dislocated ankle injury in the Egg Bowl for Mississippi State. So he ain't playing in this one either. I don't think there's much need to overthink this one, Dan. I do like Mississippi State's defense. They played pretty well on that side of the football all year. But I think like any other game, Lamar Jackson going to have like 400 total yards. I think they're going to jump all over Mississippi State, and it's going to be tough for Mississippi State to really score with the Cardinals in this one. So I think Louisville wins comfortably going away. They cover 6.5. They win by 14. I like Louisville to the tune of like 29 confidence points here.
I think that's right. Yeah, the injured quarterback, Nick Fitzgerald, certainly was a huge piece, or the biggest piece for Mississippi State. And the fact that we have an interim staff, the fact that I don't think we love this Mississippi State defense, even, up front, there's a good amount of talent with Sweat, Green, and Jeffrey Simmons. And they were good. They took a lot of chances with Todd Grantham, who's also, his head, and I don't know if he's coaching this game, but he's moving on to Florida. Gave up a lot of big plays, and Louisville is a big play team. And even though this is what worries me, Ty, because the defensive pick factor. Louisville's defense is significantly worse than Mississippi State's, and Mississippi State's defense, albeit coaching staff and quarterback are gone, their defense is relatively intact. And Louisville's best win was Purdue. They lose to a pretty decent and okay Boston College team. I guess plucky. I don't know. You like that word.
Yeah, it's a good word.
Louisville's offense was great, even with the bad field position that the defense put them in. It was an all Lamar Jackson team.
We've got competing theories here at play because there's
that's the problem.
New coach theory against your newly christened Danalytics points per drive allowed thing.
Right. It's basically the abstract versus the tangible.
Why don't you go with Mississippi State here outright? And I'll go with Louisville, and we'll put this to the test once and for all.
Right, and I'm going Mississippi State because I like the defense.
All right. We disagree, sort of.
Disagree!
The AutoZone Liberty Bowl, Dan. They played at Liberty Bowl Stadium in Memphis, Tennessee. You ever been to an AutoZone?
Yeah, I've gotten in the zone, Ty.
I was at an AutoZone a couple months back when my rear taillight went out. And I decided on a Sunday morning that me, of course, being the gearhead that I am, was going to trek it over there to the nearest AutoZone, get in the zone, and get my new taillight. They promptly gave me the wrong model, Dan.
Oh.
Not only did it not fit in the light socket, but after I forced it in there, broke it, and tried to start up the car and pump on the brakes, it didn't light up.
Is this an extended Memphis defense metaphor? Is that what
it could be?
We're in for? Okay. I'm here for it, Ty. I am here for it.
Oh, okay. What are we doing? December 30th, at 12:30. 12:30 at 12:30, if you will. On ABC, we've got the Memphis Tigers, a 3.5-point favorite. Basically a home game against the Iowa State Cyclones, the darling of yours truly, the Iowa State Cyclones. I'm seeing here a Bass Pro Shops shopping trip, a Belova Caravelle watch, Nike athletic shoes, sports sandals, and backpack, and a football. That's not a bad selection right there.
That feels pretty good. If you're into like an outdoors way of life, you get the Bass Pro Shops shopping spree, whatever. You get the watch. You get some Nikes. That's great. Some sandals. I wish I forgot my sandals. I like wearing sandals around the house. Sports sandals, backpack. You get football. It's pretty good. You get to be on network television.
Yeah.
That's great.
Every number I could find for this game was screaming for me to take Memphis.
Why?
Mainly because of the offense.
Okay.
Iowa State's been my team all year. They really have. And, they've had time to prepare for Memphis in the passing game. They've been really good on defense all year. I think Matt Campbell's going to steer into his running game here with David Montgomery. I think they're going to want to play a little bit of Army ball here and do their best to eat up the clock, keep it out of Memphis's hands, and just try to run the air out of the football. I like Iowa State. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to go crazy to the tune of 26 confidence points. I'm going to take them outright. I'd imagine this also plays nicely into your Danalytics theory.
It does play nicely into Danalytics, and Memphis had a spectacular year, all things considered, second year with Mike Norvell. They beat UCLA, which UCLA didn't have the greatest season, but this is, of course, early September UCLA, and anytime you beat a big-name Power 5 program at Memphis, that's a big deal. They beat Houston. They lose to a clear top 10 team twice in UCF. Their offense was nothing short of terrific. A ton of explosive plays through the air. Riley Ferguson and Anthony Miller is probably one of the best 3 quarterback to receiver duos in the country, just in terms of production and excitement. They were good on the ground, generating bigger plays. They weren't particularly efficient running the ball. I didn't love the Memphis defense with how much they were able to just allow through the air. But Iowa State, and you talk about a team that has faced top-level quarterbacks, beaten top-level quarterbacks, beating Oklahoma, TCU, Texas Tech, a couple of not great, but okay losses to West Virginia and Kansas State. Iowa State they were a team that I wouldn't say depended on, but they were particularly talented at turning the ball over, turning other teams over specifically. Once they got to Kyle Kempt, they were better on offense from Jacob Park. Their run defense was terrific, but you have to, if you're going to beat Memphis, you have to at least get some stops through the air, get stops on 3rd and 6, whatever. And I think Iowa State is good enough to do that. The pass defense wasn't the best thing they did, but if they can force a couple turnovers, I think they're in a good position to win this game. I like Matt Campbell and the staff with time. I like the continuity. I know Memphis, I think they lose their offensive coordinator to Texas A&M. I don't know if he's here for this game, but certainly it could be a factor in their preparation. So even though the game is in Memphis at the Liberty Bowl, I'm going to go Iowa State here. I'm going to roll with that experience, with the Danalytics, with S&P Plus. I'm going with the defense here. That I worry a little bit about Memphis in the same way I worry about UCF. That are they a team that can win in different ways if forced to? And I think Iowa State can slop up this game. Give me the Clones.
They're going to be unkempt.
Boom. We agree.
All right, let's move on to the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, Dan.
Yeah.
They play this one at the University of Phoenix Stadium.
This game really does it for me, Ty. I am very excited for this game.
You are here for the Glendale PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, Dan. They play this one on December 30th, 4 p.m. on ESPN. Penn State, my dear alma mater, a 2-point favorite over the Washington Huskies. You might guess what the gift suite entails here in the PlayStation wink wink nudge nudge Fiesta Bowl, Dan.
Yes, you get a PlayStation 4, right? That's what
PS4,
we're on right now.
We're on 4.
You get a PS4 Pro bundle. I don't know what that involves. If you get like a badge or a sash,
maybe you get a second controller.
Yeah, you get a second controller. They don't have cables anymore on these controllers, do they?
No. I mean, you have to plug it in, I think, to charge it. Unless you've got one of the highfalutin chargers, but yeah.
I can tell you this much, Ty. I'm not getting a PS4 until the NCAA series returns.
I thought you had a PS4.
No, I have PS3.
Wow, so this has been a silent protest.
Well, that's basically the only game I play. At one point, I tried to get into FIFA, but I realized that I would have to spend a ton of time to get competent at FIFA. And so I'm rolling with the NCAA series whenever it comes back.
I'm an avid FIFA player.
I know,
I'm not any good at it at all.
But you've put in time to just get to be below average, right?
I'm below average is being very kind, but correct. That is correct.
Yeah. So you get a PS4 Pro bundle. I don't know if that comes with a bunch of games or what. You get a Fossil watch. Okay. So double Fossil early and an OGO backpack. I think that's a very good, and you get to go to Arizona.
If you're
Washington, you can sort of make up for the last time you went to Arizona. If you're Penn State, you don't have to be in central Pennsylvania in early January?
Absolutely.
That's great.
This is also the scene of the crime where Bill Hancock and I shared a giant bowl of Tostitos chips.
That's true. Tostitos no longer, I guess, involved with the Fiesta Bowl. Here's the great news, too. And because we have a special, kinship towards Penn State fans, alumni, whatever, because you went there.
Yeah.
I can't assume. I haven't really gone searching for great food in Central PA and State College. But if you're going to this game, if you're from Seattle, if you're from Washington, if you're from Central PA, if you're from anywhere in Pennsylvania or the Northeast, great food in the greater Phoenix area.
Awesome
Go to
food.
Pizzeria Bianco.
What was that Mexican place we went to? Do you remember?
We went to one place called Tacos Chihuas. We went to one place. Oh, no, we didn't go there. We went and got tortas somewhere.
Yeah.
You don't need go to Tacos Chihuas, CHIWAS, or La Santísima for tacos in Phoenix. Very good. Pizzacletta, PIZZICLETTA. Good pizza as well, too. Arizona and namely Phoenix, secretly really good pizza place.
Well, this is going to be a fun football game. And if you do have the distinct pleasure of going to see it, please do send us pictures and let us know what the weather's like out there. It's going to be better than it is here.
Enjoy your time.
Enjoy, Dan. I think this is a poor man's version of Clemson versus Alabama.
I'd say so. Yeah.
Because what makes a game like this interesting is the contrasting styles that we're going to see at play. Penn State, in the analogy, would obviously be more like Clemson. They've got a lot of the run-pass option stuff, more wide open. Washington, a lot more like Alabama. A lot more like Alabama from a couple of years ago, before they had Jalen Hurts and Blake Sims. More of that pro-style vanilla offense, play bruising defense, that style of play. It'll be interesting to see these two teams go at each other. I do want to circle back, though, to something you've been saying all year about the Washington Huskies. We've sort of been waiting for them to find another gear.
Yeah, especially in offense. Yeah.
Right. Like last year, you could feel a little bit more confident that Washington was going to go out there and they were going to rip the arms and legs off somebody and just beat the crap out of them. Mm-hmm. This year, it felt like that component was missing.
I think that's fair. Yeah, they had decent wins, but, they beat Fresno, which, more and more looks like a good win. Wazoo was pretty good in terms of win. They beat Oregon. They killed Oregon without Justin Herbert, but they would have beaten them with Justin Herbert anyway. They beat Utah. They lose to ASU and Stanford. And the performances in those two games, especially against ASU on offense, was a pretty disappointing way to lose. I'd say fair to say.
Yeah.
Both these teams, there actually is a good amount in common. So in big games, both of these teams missed, I would say, a big downfield threat receiver, right? And Chris Godwin and John Ross.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Both teams without their offensive coordinator. Joe Moorhead gone, Jonathan Smith gone, taking head coaching jobs at Power 5 schools.
Sure.
And led by, I think, maybe unexpectedly, defensive performances. Jason Kambinda was great. Marcus Allen had a great year in the secondary for Penn State. And when Washington was healthy, they have one of the best interior linemen in the country in Vita Vea. The secondary went healthy, albeit young. Great couple of safeties. Byron Murphy's healthy in this game. He should stick on somebody really well for Washington. So there's a lot to like about these teams that are both dealing with, I wouldn't say full-on issues, but wrinkles, concerns that are very similar.
I would agree with that.
And really good running backs in Saquon Barkley and Myles Gaskin.
Absolutely. There's a lot of talk here about how Washington's defense is going to give Penn State fits. And
I can see that.
Yeah, I think that's true to an extent, especially since you mentioned Penn State turning over their offensive coordinator, Ricky Ronnie stepping in now for Joe Moorhead. He's going to be taking over play call duties. So there's always a little bit of an awkward transition when something like that goes down. Mm-hmm. I really do think, though, that Penn State's defense is going to be the X factor here. If they can bottle up Myles Gaskin, if they can force Washington to be more dependent on the pass, I think that really favors them. I'm a Penn State alum. I got to go with my heart here. I got to go Penn State. I don't know if what's it, 2 points? I got to go Penn State outright to the tune of 9 confidence points, but I think this is going to be an awesome game to watch.
I think the best thing in this game is still probably Washington's defense, I think they're pretty healthy at this point. Getting the secondary back to where it should help against a Penn State team that really, when they were playing their best, they were throwing downfield. And Saquon Barkley helped, I think, more as an all-purpose guy rather than a consistent ground threat against the better defenses Penn State faced. But still, this Penn State team was, the end of the Ohio State game away from being in playoff consideration?
Yeah.
So it was an excellent Penn State team about 94% of the time. Basically, the Michigan State team, the Michigan State game notwithstanding. I think, though, that the combination of Washington's defensive line, I really like Pete Kwiatkowski, the defensive coordinator for the Huskies. The fact that it's on the West Coast, I think, helps a little bit for Washington. The familiarity, they're not traveling. Penn State will be there days and days ahead of time. I think they're going to be able to bottle up Saquon Barkley. I think they'll be able to get to Trace McSorley enough. They won't contain him fully, but I'm going to roll with what I think is the strongest and most continuous part of this game, which is the Washington defense and their ability to get pressure with 4 guys. I'm going to go Washington close here. And honestly, the Danalytics S&P Plus, it's nearly identical. Washington 7th, Penn State 6th. And Washington had a stronger, I think, schedule outside of the conference, whatever. So I'm going to go with the Huskies here.
Wow. So we disagree.
We disagree. Penn State had one big win. They beat Michigan.
They did beat Michigan.
That was their win.
All right. I got to go Penn State outright. So
we disagree again.
Let's go to the Capital One Orange Bowl, Dan.
Let's.
What's in your wallet in Hard Rock Stadium? Miami, Florida. Also on December the 30th, they play it at 8 p.m. on ESPN. We've got the Wisconsin Badgers coming down from the northern part of the great USA. A 6.5-point favorite against the home dog.
Home team, yeah.
Home team Miami Hurricanes, Dan. I noticed that there is a different kind of watch. A watch that I've never seen before.
I think we've mentioned this brand before. I think we have. Maybe they were at the Orange Bowl last year. I don't know. There's a gift suite. There's the Tourneau watch. Tour.
Is that the former first baseman for the Minnesota Twins?
Yeah, Justin Tourneau.
Right.
Did you not know? Life brand hat, but that's Life with a Y.
I looked these up. They make a denim hat that says Dad and has a rose on it.
How does the Tourneau watch look? Does that look at least?
It's fine.
Yeah, they're in Chicago, so there's that at least.
There you go.
I can go get one today if I wanted to. And an ice shaker water bottle and shaker cup. Stay hydrated, Miami, folks.
How you feel about this game, Dan?
I think I like Wisconsin here. I think there's more to like about Wisconsin at this point. You know, Miami without Amon Richards, we saw what that looked like against Clemson and a good defense. I mean, great defense like Wisconsin also has. I struggle with feeling super confident about it because it's a literal home game.
I know.
For Miami.
I changed my pick. I once was where you are.
Yeah. Please educate me.
And it dawned on me that this game was tearing me apart.
Yeah.
Emotionally.
It's tearing me apart.
My gut is 100% to go with Wisconsin because they're so good on defense. That is going to be a real issue for Miami one way or another. Mm-hmm. But then you think about it, and okay, like you said, a literal home game for Miami on their home field. Big game city, big game town, big game team. They're going to be rocking. A lot of home folks going to be at that game. Their defense is also pretty good. Mm-hmm. And you might remember this little apparatus they call the turnover chain, right? It's been a big deal.
I do remember.
People have been talking about it.
It's in the Smithsonian now.
If there is anybody in college football who was born to add links to that chain, it might be Alex Hornibrook.
Oh, does anybody who would know? It would be somebody who was forced to watch a lot of Brandon Wimbush.
I'm saying the turnover chain could play a factor in this football game. I don't like this pick at all, but I am going to change it from Wisconsin 8 confidence points to Miami 8 confidence points, just because it's a home game, and I struggled with it so much. I think there will be an added layer of motivation here, being that it's at home, and I'm going to go Miami.
Do you think there's motivation because they're at home, or do you think there might be malaise?
I think there's
because
motivation.
They're at home.
They're going to be rocking. It's a night game. No, they're going to be rocking.
See, I think it might. They were in the ACC championship, and if they win that, there's a good shot they're in the playoff. They're not going to the Rose Bowl. They're not going to the Sugar Bowl. They're not going to Fiesta. They're just playing a home game.
I know. I'm changing my pick to Miami. I think there's going to be an added layer of motivation.
I think, Miami has the better resume in beating Virginia Tech and Notre Dame. And, the win that Wisconsin has over FAU looks better and better.
It does.
They beat Michigan.
Surprisingly
enough. They beat our pretty decent Northwestern team. They lose to Ohio State close in the Big Ten championship game when they would lean on Jonathan Taylor tailback. Of course, he rushes for almost 2,000 yards. I don't think that Wisconsin is going to try and throw the ball more than they feel they need to. I don't think they're going to be throwing into the teeth all that much into this Miami defense. The defense is basically as good as anybody not in the playoff, if not better than certain teams in the playoff, certainly better than Oklahoma's defense. They lose their, Wisconsin, their outside linebackers coach. He's taking over the Oregon State defense, and Wisconsin's outside linebacker It's very specific, Ty. But with Joe Show and Vince Beagle and TJ Watt, maybe that's a factor. I don't know. I like Wisconsin. I think looking at where Miami struggled late in the year, seeing them throw into good defenses without Amon Richards, That scares me a little bit. I really
as
like
well
this
it should.
Wisconsin
I'm with you.
Yeah. So, and as much as I do like this Miami defense, RJ McIntosh, Joe Jackson, Shaquille Quarterman, all year long, they were really fast. They were angry. They played really well. This Manny Diaz defense was fun. I'm going Wisconsin here just because they're my more secure pick. I'm not willing to go out on a limb for this Miami team right now.
All right, suit yourself. We disagree. The Outback Bowl, Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida, on New Year's Day at high noon, 2018 on ESPN2. Michigan Wolverines an 8-point favorite over the South Carolina Gamecocks. The gift to all Verballers, the gift to college football fans, is our good friend Ryan Nanny. He will be the
Fryin'
Bloomin' Onion, the Fryin' Onion.
Fryin' Nanny,
whatever you want to call it. He will be serving as the Blooming Onion mascot in the third quarter, I believe, of this football contest.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, that's the gift that keeps on giving. But the Outback Bowl will be giving away a Justin's ring. We all know Justin's.
Sure.
A Fossil watch. Here comes Fossil.
Yeah.
$125 Best Buy gift card, Outback Steakhouse gift card, and a hat, and the gift of seeing Ryan Nanny in a unitard with a novelty vegetable around it. A novelty appetizer, and of course, our good friend Adam Amin on the call.
Wow, I didn't know he was working this game.
Adam Amin is doing this game. He will be taking the Ryan Nanny situation very seriously. I want to say, I don't know if Ryan's the whole game or
I think
half.
it's the third quarter.
Is it the third quarter?
I believe it's the third quarter.
I hope it's acknowledged in some sort of Rinaldi situation. I hope it's acknowledged in maybe there's just like a box at the bottom of the screen, like how they keep it on a coach, or
right.
Maybe there's an arrow, like when Reggie Bush played for USC, you got to keep tabs on where Reggie Bush is lining up. Here's where the onion is.
So the Pontiac game-changing performance, Ryan Nanny.
Absolutely. Yes. So good gift situation, better life situation, and a rematch of the Vince Smith head being popped off by Jadeveon Clowney.
Also, all of those things you just mentioned might be better than this actual football game.
Yeah, that's also fair. That's why we spent time.
I was looking at this game from every which way.
Yeah.
And outside of LSU Notre Dame, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, I think this is the game I'm the least excited to pay attention to on New Year's.
South Carolina is, they're not bad. They're not great. They're just, they're there.
They're there. I haven't been enamored with South Carolina and their offense all year. Like nobody has.
Right.
This is obviously a nice cherry on top of their season to go into a big bowl game like this.
Sure.
I just don't think they can move the ball against Michigan. Michigan's got such a good defense. And look, I know Michigan fans weren't entirely excited about what went on in 2017. But if you truly go back and look at it, if you consider all the pieces they lost from a year ago, and now look at an 8-4 season where, lost to Michigan State. All right, that might have been one where they shouldn't have lost, but lost to Penn State, Ohio State, Wisconsin. It's not like they were losing to Kentucky like South Carolina was, teams that they probably shouldn't lose to.
This Michigan season was so weird to me. It was such, because the defense was really good. They'd hold a team to like 1 yard rush for no gain, -2 yard rush, 1 yard rush, 81 yard rush. That was the defense. It was like, we're going to stop you a bunch, and then we're just going to like stare at somebody in the crowd and let you get a huge play. If you're ordering the Michigan DVD or whatever, that year-end highlight package for the Wolverines, you're getting a lot of the second half against Purdue. That was the bright spot. That is, everybody. John O'Corn, he's the guy. He's the answer. Here, this offense is ready. And then no, it was Indiana and Purdue were the highlights of this Michigan season. They lose to the good teams in their division. The offense ultimately was below average. Cron Higdon will be healthy for this game. This game feels like it will serve as a way to get Michigan fans very excited about 2018, which I don't know if that's going to work out. It's a tough schedule. But that's what it feels like to me. And, there's, I guess, maybe a 3-way quarterback matchup with Shea Patterson, Brandon Peters, Dylan McCaffrey. We'll see who comes out of that. But short term, this game, Outback Bowl, the things that matter most: 1, onion costume; 2, Adam Amin, obviously; 3, whatever happens in this game. And South Carolina, you're right. They were fine this year. They improved. The offense was okay, nothing great. AJ Turner wasn't bad. Jake Bentley was okay in spots. The defense improved against the run. They prevented bigger plays through the air.
There's a lot to be happy about, to be satisfied with if you're a South Carolina fan. But
sure,
if you do a blind taste test and look at the numbers that they put up on offense, and then you see that they went 8-4, I would expect that would be a bit confusing because this was not an offense that really took anybody by storm.
I'm going to go with the defense here. I'm going to go with Michigan comfortably in the 20s.
I don't know if they cover 8 points. That seems like a lot to me, but I feel 28 points confident that Michigan's going to win this game.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. They play this one in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, the new one.
Yeah.
On New Year's Day, 12:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. We've got the Auburn Tigers, a 9.5 point favorite against the UCF, the undefeated, Dan.
Yeah.
UCF Knights, a good gift situation here as well.
Yeah, the Peach Bowl does not mess around. $300 Vanilla Visa gift card by Income. Vanilla Visa.
Okay.
Vanilla Visa.
Do you scratch it and it smells like vanilla, or
you can only use it at Cold Stone Creamery.
Great.
That's where they get you. Ultimate Ears Wonder Boom Bluetooth speaker. Sure. I'm sure it's fine.
Sure.
You're in Atlanta. It's probably going to be warm-ish. I don't know. You're inside. Fossil watch and a football. So Fossil coming strong here as well.
I have a question for you. It's a very important and a very serious question.
I'm ready.
About this football game. If I gave you $1 for every time somebody asked you a hypothetical about UCF's playoff chances, how many Bitcoins would you have by now?
At this point, I don't think there's a lot of UCF playoff discussion. But a little while ago, Ty, it's a considerable amount, sure.
I would have so many Bitcoins.
Yeah.
If we were keeping track, because UCF's been an interesting story. They went undefeated. A lot of the statistical measures that we use to gauge one team against another come back with strong returns for UCF. So it's no denying that they're a very popular topic, especially given the fact that we've got a 4-team playoff, leaving the whole situation up for debate. This will be a good test for UCF. It'll be a good test for Scott Frost. He will be coaching, as will the rest of his coaching staff. They're going to leave after this game. They're all going to go up to Lincoln, but it'll be a really good test to see where UCF is at. A game like this, as you know, has proven to be a bit of a dangerous spot in the past for a team like an Auburn.
Yeah.
Because it means so much more for a team like UCF than it does Auburn. Auburn was one game away from
good use of that phrase, Ty. It just means more.
It does. Auburn was one game away from being in the playoff. UCF, this is their national championship. They can beat an SEC team on Scott Frost's way out the door. A lot of intangibles at play. It also did catch me by surprise how statistically close this one looked. If you go in there and pop the hood, the S&P Plus likes UCF to win by a point.
Yeah, S&P Plus is not a human factor thing, but yeah, you're right. I mean, does this game feel sort of like pity sex versus breakup sex? I mean, football's football.
Yeah,
but okay. So yes, I think the bigger thing is Scott Frost and staff moving on to Nebraska. You have the Nebraska head coach now coaching UCF. This would be an enormous cherry. This would be a dozen cherries on top of a delicious sundae for Scott Frost and UCF and whatever. But it sort of felt like they peaked going 12-0.
I think
like
so.
It's not Chris Peterson, staying. Chris Peterson will be back in Boise next year.
Here's my advice. If you want to root for UCF, take UCF plus 9.5. Straight up to me is a bridge too far. Defensively, Auburn is way better than anybody UCF played all year. And that's going to play a factor here. If nothing more, it's just going to wear down the UCF front. It sounds like Kerryon Johnson will be healthy. He will play in this football game. And I think just by virtue of that, they will also be able to wear down the front seven of UCF. Auburn will.
Yeah.
So given what we know of Auburn, They got a little bit nicked up down the stretch. If nothing more, they were tired because of the brutal stretch they had to play. They've had a couple weeks now. Scott Frost, I saw he was quoted as saying, well, the UCF was ahead of Auburn in their preparation. Auburn wasn't practicing as often as UCF was for this game. And I guess that plays into the fact that maybe it means more for the Knights than it does for the Tigers. But Auburn had a tough stretch. They deserve some time off to kind of get their bearings and get ready for this one. I think over the course of 60 minutes, they will wear down UCF and come away the victor here.
I think that's right. Auburn's defense was really, 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 really good. They were very good against the run. They were absurdly great against the pass. The offense was mostly good after that Clemson game, struggled in the SEC championship, certainly. I think they scored 7 points against Georgia. But this Auburn team plays defense basically as well as anybody does anything. And that includes UCF on offense. And that offense was a complete joy. Mackenzie Milton throwing to Traquan Smith, Dredrick Snelson. This was an exciting offense. My question is, this UCF defense was average. They were, which is a huge improvement from where they were, certainly, but they were okay versus the run. They weren't bad versus the pass. They gave up a lot of big plays. We saw the 2 games against Memphis and USF. I worry that, the waves of talent for UCF they won't be there against Auburn. The motivation for Auburn is a legitimate question, but they're still playing in a group of 5 game in the national championship site, stadium, whatever. I think there will be excitement for Auburn. This was a good season for the Tigers. They beat 2 playoff teams. They beat Georgia at home. They beat Bama. So it's still a wildly successful year, and certainly disappointing with the SEC championship game. But I think the talent factor, I think the idea that it is the Nebraska head coach just sort of coaching his final game out for UCF, I think it's Auburn. I think Auburn ultimately wears them down by a couple touchdowns.
And then before we get to the 2 big tamales here, a longer show, apologize. Thank you for sticking with us here on the Solid Verbal.
It's fine.
The Citrus Bowl, presented by Overton's.
Yeah.
Do we know what Overton's is?
I have no clue. What do you... It's the Citrus Bowl presented by Overton's?
By Overton's. It sounds like a local diner.
Yeah, I would get a patty melt at Overton's. Sure. So Overton's launching life on the water since it's boating, marine, water sports, anchor and docking, trailering. So it sounds like it's lake stuff. I don't know.
They played at Camping World Stadium, I guess a fitting host.
Yeah, ties in.
They also play this one on New Year's Day, 1 p.m. on ABC. It's LSU, a 3-point favorite over the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Mm-hmm. In this game, they give away a $400 Best Buy player shopping trip, which is nice.
Ka-ching.
I like that. And a timely watch company watch.
Great gift.
So Notre Dame was a bit in the news. Kevin Stefferson is their wide receiver, suspended for this game. He got popped for speeding and then I guess not having a license and then having weed in his car. Not his first brush with the law. He's kind of been a handful ever since he got there for Brian Kelly. In a football sense, he led the receiving corps with 5 touchdowns, and he might have been their best big play guy.
Yeah.
So it's not something you want to undersell because, as you know, my gripe about Notre Dame's offense all year has been the passing game. They haven't really been able to get much going down the field in the passing game. Now, to lose that component, I think, is something that will obviously affect them negatively going into a big game like this against LSU. LSU has pretty good defense in their own right. I don't want any part of Notre Dame in this game.
Why?
None whatsoever.
The Stefferson passing game factor?
Not just that. I just feel like you've got such a good defense at LSU. You've got a really good defensive coordinator in Dave Aranda. I think he's going to watch the tape. He's going to look. He's going to see what other programs did. He's going to see what Miami did.
Yeah, and this was, I think you're mostly right. This wasn't a dominant LSU defense at any one thing. This wasn't where this defense was these past couple years. And they were good. They were, they were complete. They were good. And this LSU team was led mostly by the fact that, oh man, the phone keeps ringing. Mostly by the fact that they were more talented than most of the teams they played. The improvement of Danny Etling on offense, Darius Geis, when he was healthy, was very good. And the fact that the SEC wasn't terrific. A lot of changes happening on both sides of the conference. So Notre Dame wise, I'd be worried that the obvious strategy is, make Brandon Wimbush beat you.
I don't think that Dave Aranda needs to do anything more complicated.
Yeah.
I really don't. And that worries me for Notre Dame here.
Yeah, I think that's all reasonable. And I think one of the stories about Notre Dame that's a little bit below the surface, unfortunately, because of the emergence of Josh Adams as a huge play running back, and Brandon Wimbush had a really nice, at least first half or 2/3 of the season, is the fact that Notre Dame's defense got really good, especially against the pass this year from where they were in 2016. They improved so much, and they'll have a lot to sort of worry about with DJ Chark as a big play guy and Danny Etling throwing the ball downfield pretty well. But that was a cool thing to see improve for Notre Dame. I just, Brandon Wimbush as the ultimate 50-50 guy, that worries me. So
I'm going LSU. I think probably more of a defensive slugfest than any kind of pyrotechnic display on offense, but I do think that it will be Wimbush that again sinks Notre Dame. I don't think he's going to move the ball through the air that he needs to, that Dave Aranda is going to force him to try and do. Are
you confident that he'll improve next year or two?
No.
Really?
No, I'm not. I'm not confident at all because he hasn't improved this year.
Okay.
From start to finish, you can make a really good case that he didn't get any better. So no, I'm not confident at all.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm curious to see what LSU looks like offensively moving forward, but yeah. Okay. Let's go with agree.
And finally, Dan, in the wise words of that HQ trivia host, have you played that at all?
Oh, I love HQ. Scott Wisniewski? Yeah.
I won on Christmas Eve, $35.
Is that true?
It is.
12 questions?
It all boils down to this, Dan. Let's start with the first of two college football playoff games. The Rose Bowl game presented by Northwestern Mutual. They play it at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. It is on New Year's Day at 5 p.m., the classic Rose Bowl starting time on ESPN. Georgia, the Bulldogs, the SEC champions at 10-2, a 1.5-point favorite over Oklahoma at 12-1. They enter this game with one loss to our friends over at Iowa State, and they are the Big 12 champion. In this game, there's a gift suite, a fossil watch, an Agio backpack, a new era 950 snapback adjustable hat, and that's all I see.
Also a gift. You get to go play in the Rose Bowl, the best single setting for a game and best game. Going to the Rose Bowl for UCLA, Arizona State, not wonderful, but New Year's, it's the best.
A quick look at the numbers here. The S&P Plus has Georgia as the 18th most efficient offense in college football, the 8th most efficient defense. Oklahoma, they've got the top offense, the most efficient offense in the country.
And most explosive,
but the 95th most efficient defense.
Right.
Whether you understand these numbers or not, that's the mismatch on paper. It jumps out at you. It sticks out like a sore thumb. So let's start there. How fair is it to say that the weakest entity on the field is Oklahoma's defense?
Accurate.
I think that's accurate, right?
Yeah. No, they have the best offense and the worst defense in the playoff.
So now that we know that, now that we're assuming that much is fact, given that Oklahoma's offense is so damn efficient, how much, if at all, does that defense really scare you?
The defense did improve. To be fair to Oklahoma, they gave up 17 to a good TCU offense. They gave up 20 earlier on in the season to the same TCU offense. They obviously shut down Kansas. They were, other than that Oklahoma State game, they were largely okay. They've got OG, Okoronkwo. I'm going to screw that up for the rest of time, and he's a great guy for them on defense. But I think in big spots, this Oklahoma defense can be enough. I don't know if they're not going to be good. They can be enough to not be a detriment and take away from what seems to always be an exhilarating offensive performance from Baker Mayfield and, his year-over-year new skill set around him.
Okay.
So it doesn't terrify me in the way that I think ordinarily it would, because you have that quarterback cover.
I think there is definitely a possibility that Georgia comes into this game and does exactly what it's done in a bunch of other games this season. They'll grind it out with Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. They'll play off that. They'll get Jake Fromm some good looks downfield. In a vacuum, that's a really good matchup for Georgia. And on some level, we're going to see that play out here in Georgia's favor in this football game. They will do that to some degree of success. I have no doubt about that. What worries me is that Oklahoma runs hot. They run hot. They're the best first quarter team in college football, at least on offense.
Yeah.
Would it surprise you if they went out there opening drive and went 80 yards on 3 plays and scored a touchdown?
3 plays, maybe 7, 6, 5 plays, maybe not. Yeah, that would, I mean, they have the clear best quarterback in college football who, I mean, we've talked about this before. He seems like he's in purgatory a little bit all season long. He doesn't seem like a college quarterback. He seems like a grad student. He's, ready for the NFL, was ready for the NFL early on in the season. And I generally don't care how good your secondary is. Man. He's going to be able to buy enough time to make a play in the same way, Deshaun Watson was able to do last year. Marcus Mariota was, he has that very specific talent that you can cover his receivers, you can cover, Mark Andrews, you can cover whoever for 3-4 seconds, but he is going to squirt and squirm and move around enough to make a play more often than not.
I just worry that Georgia's going to have to play from behind early. And if that's the case, what happens to their game plan of trying to grind it out? And, Jake Fromm's been really good. He's been efficient and accurate, and all of the superlatives apply to what he's done in his first year. He's been outstanding. But Georgia, I think, has a very specific game plan that we know a lot about. And what really impresses me about Oklahoma is that in spite of losing both running backs and Dede Westbrook and Bob freaking Stoops from a year ago, Lincoln Riley came in. He was starting with Baker Mayfield and a good line. And if you're a fan, all you can ask is that your team gets better. They have gotten better on offense. They have so many different ways that they can beat you. I don't think Georgia has that kind of variety on their offense. They have a very specific formula that they can follow and veer from to some degree and still be very successful. But I feel much better about Oklahoma really against any defense, given that they've got Baker Mayfield. I am, if I weren't sticking to my formula here and putting the minimal amount of confidence points in these later games, I would put a lot more than 3 on Oklahoma because I've just been so impressed by how they've gotten better throughout the course of the season. So I'm going to go Oklahoma here outright.
Every part of my gut is telling me Oklahoma. The quarterback, he's been in the playoff, beat Auburn in the Sugar Bowl last year. He's been in these big spots, going into the biggest spot. I really like Oklahoma here because of Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
But I'm going Georgia.
Whoa, why?
I'm going Georgia because too many times I've seen... No, I mean, the defense thing does play a role, yes. Too many times I've seen the better defense get the best of an excellent quarterback. Too many times over the course of 4 quarters, the talent edge clearly goes to Georgia. The fact that their front is as dominant as it is against, I mean, that's the matchup, right? It's Roquan Smith and Lorenzo Carter against the just unbelievably dominant Oklahoma offensive line. It's how much can Georgia force Baker Mayfield to be uncomfortable? And even when uncomfortable, Baker Mayfield's better than anybody, but that to me is the big difference. And the fact that Georgia was able to cover their perceived weaknesses, be it deep with the secondary or be it offensive line early on, to become a strength. And even when offensively, if Jake Fromm's not getting it going, and I think this is, it's an enormous spot for a true freshman quarterback to be in, against another quarterback who has all of the seasoning in the world and Baker Mayfield. The more dependable thing to me in these spots is defensive talent at this point, with what we've seen recently, with as good as spread offenses have been, with a first-year head coach, with a questionable at times defense. I mean, Mason Rudolph carved up this Oklahoma State defense. I mean, maybe the best receiving core in college football, but he carved them up. I'm going to go, this is the same reason I took Wisconsin against Miami.
Okay.
There's more I feel like I can depend on in this game when things go wrong than just Baker Mayfield. So I'm going Georgia, and I hate myself for doing it.
Yeah, and kind of going with Oklahoma for all the same reasons.
Yeah.
I think either way, this has potential to be the best game of the year. Maybe the best game all next year, too. I think Oklahoma goes up early. I think Georgia whittles their way back. I think we get to the fourth quarter, and Oklahoma's trying to hang on for dear life. So more shootout-y, a very close game. I like Oklahoma 38-37 in an instant Rose Bowl classic.
And to be clear, I watched every second of Oklahoma, Ohio State. I know what I'm doing, and I'm doing something bad.
Okay.
But in a spot like this, with the amount of time to prepare, I think, Kirby Smart, Mel Tucker, that defensive staff, Sam Pittman on offense. I think Georgia wins this game 28-27.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I think it's going to be unbelievable. I cannot wait for this game.
I'm very excited for this game, which means that the final showdown in the playoffs this season, at least in the semifinals, is the All-State Sugar Bowl. They play it on New Year's Day at 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN, live from New Orleans in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. It's a rematch from last year's actual national championship game. Alabama at 11-1. They did not win their conference, but they did make it in thanks to the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. They're a 2.5 point favorite, depending where you look, over the Clemson Tigers at 12-1. They won the ACC. What's our final gift situation, Dan?
Sugar Bowl, always a fun time, is pretty good. The Sugar Bowl is giving away, there's a gift suite situation, a Fossil watch, a New Era cap, Rock'em socks, which we're in agreement. They look pretty great,
They need
right?
to send us Rock'em socks.
We need some Rock'ems. And a panoramic game photo, which I like that. I have a panoramic view of, I think it's Oregon USC from 2008, maybe?
Yeah.
Up in my apartment. So I like those. So always better if you are the team with the winning score to get a panoramic game photo memory. But that's pretty good. I'm sure the gift suite's nice.
Let's take another look at the numbers here, as we did with the last game. Alabama 19th in terms of offensive efficiency, 3rd in terms of defensive efficiency in the nation. Clemson at 35 overall in terms of offensive efficiency, and number 2 when it comes to defense. There are no glaring deficiencies either way. That's why they're in the playoff. The only thing that I'd call out is that Clemson hasn't been great this season at generating those bigger chunk plays. They're pretty low on the totem pole when it comes to the explosion plays that tend to turn a game one way or another. So that's something to keep an eye on.
Clemson last year, your defending national champion, 104th most explosive team in the country.
Right.
7th most efficient. So if you're top 10 efficient, explosion matters less, although the team I think that wins the explosion battle typically goes on to win the game, something like 80-85% of the time. But yeah, so that's where they were last year, and we've talked about this before, and this is Clemson, Alabama 3, that the thing that teams that generally are able to find success against Alabama's defense have in common is a fearless combination of offensive play caller and quarterback, which certainly they have the play callers. The co-offensive coordinators have done a great job for Clemson. Was it Jeff Scott and Tony Elliott? They do not have a seasoned, and I would say definitively fearless quarterback in Kelly Bryant.
I would agree with that.
He's been very good.
I would agree with that.
We've talked about talent-wise, you need to be comparable. Clemson more than fits that bill. And I would, especially along the lines. And the other thing that Clemson had last year that they don't have this year necessarily is big physical combination of, receivers, pass catchers, tight end receivers. No Mike Williams, no Jordan Leggett. There is a difference in what Clemson's receiving core looks like. I know T. Higgins has been their big play guy, and he's a bigger receiver, like 6'4", 200. But it's a smaller receiving core this year, led by Deion Kane, Hunter Renfrow, and really talented guys. But in terms of the sort of physicality of having those bigger pass catchers, that is a difference for Clemson this year. So that worries me a little bit, that it's not Deshaun Watson throwing to smaller receivers, it's Kelly Bryant.
And you said the key word there. Deshaun Watson, I think, is kind of what I looked at, what he did last year, and how he was able to single-handedly take out Alabama. If you replace Deshaun Watson with Kelly Bryant, with anybody else, I don't think Clemson wins last year, but he was such a transcendent player on the college level, much in the way that Baker Mayfield is this year, by the way, that he was able to will his team to victory. Now, it's no knock on Kelly Bryant. I don't think he's at that level yet. And so when I went through and I tried to evaluate this game, okay, Clemson has a lot of the boxes checked. A lot of the things that you need if you're going to go toe-to-toe with Alabama, they have it. Mm-hmm. But as a rule, when you consider that Nick Saban has had so much time to prepare, that to me seems like something that would favor Alabama in this game.
Is Jeremy Pruitt fully focused on Alabama?
The thing about Pruitt is he's coached at such a high level before. You know, he's been at Georgia. He's been at Florida State. Yeah. He's been around the block to know how these things are supposed to work. So I don't think that factors in as much, especially given the fact that Alabama is just so damn talented on defense. Now, the linebacking core has been a bit of an issue with the injury bug, but I think they'll be okay there by the time this game rolls around. So, no, I don't think that factors in as much as some might lead you to believe.
Here's the other thing that it also is worth noting, even though it's been the case for a long time. Alabama gave Clemson everything they could handle last year with the best Clemson quarterback or player of all time, Deshaun Watson. That was with Reuben Foster. That was with Jonathan Allen. That was with Brian Anderson. That was with Dalvin Tomlinson, Tim Williams. This is not the same level of danger, especially with the injuries in the sort of back half of Alabama's defense. So the margin for error might be a little bit wider for Kelly Bryant. This is an excellent Alabama defense. It is not an absurdly talented up front in the same way it was last year with the versatility. Eddie Jackson was so good for them last year, playing all over the field. So it is a better year this year to play Alabama's defense at this point than it was last year.
And it's such an interesting point too, because when I was trying to go through and look at what Alabama has done this season, what they've done in the past in this playoff, Saban's 2-1 in the first round of the playoff matchups. Okay, they've been in it each of the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. You could make a case that Bama this year is not on the level of any of the 3 previous versions of Alabama in this first round of the college football playoff. Like all of those teams, I think, could have been better.
No, that's totally right. And the reason why this year, I don't feel too worried about this Alabama defense. I don't think Clemson's going to score 35 points. Alabama's offense, to me, is, I think, probably the biggest, because that's where the biggest talent matchup is. Alabama on offense, with the 7,000 talented running backs and Jalen Hurts playing in yet another huge game. He's seasoned. He's struggled in a couple of these, but he's played them. And, they have a huge time receiver in Calvin Ridley. And the Clemson defensive front is going to be swarming. I think this is going to be the best in terms of pure talent on pure talent, the best matchup in this game. I'm a little bit worried about Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
Against this Clemson defense. I'm a little worried about him getting spooked on 3rd and 8. And I go back and forth. I think I'm going Clemson.
Okay.
And it's the same. I think it's the sort of getting older and leaning more towards what I can depend on. I think it's more that Clemson can get 5-6 yards on the ground. Kelly Bryant and Jalen Hurts are both great at running the ball. Jalen Hurts is a little bit better, but there's something that is more dependable about Clemson at this point because of their experience on defense, their experience in this spot. Kelly Bryant as a runner, he's their best running back as a quarterback. I think I like this. I think I like Clemson just a tad more in this spot.
It's a very difficult game to try and project.
Yeah.
I actually come down on the opposite side of the coin here. And I jotted down some of the same words that you use. Trust. Mm-hmm. I say it time and time again. It's about trust, babe.
Yes, it is.
Who do you trust more to make a big play with the game on the line? I think it's going to be a defensive slugfest.
Yeah.
One way or the other. I think I trust Jalen Hurts more. And I know he struggled in the past, but all things considered, he's had a pretty good year. He only threw 1 interception all year. He's very good at running the football, and he's had a knack for making big plays in the past. He just hasn't always been consistent. But I do think that seasoning does creep into the equation here. And given the fact that they're so good on defense that it's probably going to be a tight game, I think Jalen Hurts will have a big play in him down the stretch that ultimately springs Alabama here to victory, 28-24.
All right. I have, 23-20, 27-24, something like that. Close Clemson win.
Yeah, right.
And I think if you're going to you have to take chances against this Clemson defense deep. I think that's where teams have succeeded. And Clemson, honestly, is the more tested team, which is very rare to say. And it's because of, Florida State struggling. It's because of, the way, A&M and LSU weren't really the same as they've been in recent years against Alabama, Ole Miss being down, and Clemson beating Auburn, beating Virginia Tech, dominating Miami. I think we know more about them in big spots. One of these teams has beaten Auburn, one of them hasn't. So, granted, it was early September.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm going with Clemson here being a little bit more self-aware in these big spots while healthier.
I've got 2 confidence points on this one. I've got one confidence point on the national championship game, because obviously we don't know that matchup yet, so that gets 1. But,
right.
If I could put 0 on this one, I would. I'd love to give people out there a hot take about the matchup that I see or why I feel more strongly about Auburn than Clemson or vice versa, but this is just so damn close, Dan, and I could totally see it going one way or the other. I struggled mightily with Alabama here, but I'm going to go with the Crimson Tide. I've been a fan all year. Let's just roll with it. 28-24.
Okay. Fair. We disagree slightly.
Disagreed on both of the playoff games, actually.
That's true.
All right, well, there you have it.
Yep.
That does it for all of the bowl games. Clearly, we will be back after the new year to talk about all of these games, talk about the playoff, and then ultimately give you our national championship preview, which will drop later on in the week, next week, presumably when you and I get to Atlanta and have a chance to finish that guy up. But wow, great year, great 2017 in the college football world. We appreciate everyone sticking with us throughout the calendar year, throughout the season, Dan. This has been exciting, our 10th full year.
It feels like 9. It feels like 9. I'm excited for Atlanta, Ty. To see you, to see the Verballers down there, to get excited, to do the media day stuff for our friends at Facebook Sports. It's going to be a hell of a next, I don't know, what is it, 10 days or so?
Yeah.
This is the best. This is just, it's a lot of college football. It's a lot of food. I love it all. New Year's Day is going to be great.
I'm excited. Well, thank you again to everyone out there who gives us so much support. We're going to open up the reverb line on New Year's Day. If you want to give a phone call in at some point, we'll get our boy Taylor to cut those together and do one final reverbs for the 2017 season. 408-VERBAL1, 408-837-2251. If you want to get in on the action, leave us one more message. You can text us. Reach out on Twitter, on Facebook, via email at solidverbal@gmail.com. And don't forget, if you're planning on being in Atlanta, either if you live there, if you're passing through town, or maybe if you're coming down for the national championship, we've got another lot of tickets that we're going to put up for sale January the 2nd at 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll link that up on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, post it on the website. We'll send out an email.
Hell yeah.
To the newsletter of intent. We still got tickets. We want to sell that out. That being said, please do let us know if you're going to be in town, if you're interested. Daniel, that's all I got.
That's all I got. I don't think we're going to do a secret verbal song. Is the show's song. The show is already long enough. But hey, hopefully we got you out of uncomfortable situations, having to listen to this show, or got you on your journey more comfortably back home to a new place, wherever, to vacation. So I'm glad we're here, Ty. I'm glad. That's all. A
longer show than usual to close out 2017. We will catch you all on the flip side. In the meantime, for that guy over there, my good friend, Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildenbrand, we'll catch you all next week and next year. Happy New Year and stay solid.
Peace.